Hey everybody, it's RJ, your host, and welcome to Hash It Out. The long-awaited federal cannabis bill from U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, along with Senators Cory and Ron Wyden, has finally been released. Well, a first draft of it, anyway. In this episode, I'll be speaking with Christina DiPaci of Paradiso about how federal cannabis policy reform would affect the cannabis industry. We'll also discuss the essential nature of creativity and female representation in the industry, creating a cannabis industry that we can be proud of, and more. Without further ado, let's hash it out. My guest today is the founder and CEO of the cannabis company Paradiso. Welcome to the show, Christina DiPaci. Hello.
Hi there. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here. I understand that you are coming to us live from the farm. And so I thank you so much for taking the time out of, I'm sure, your busy schedule to have a conversation with me today. Not many people join us live from the farm or where the magic happens. So thank you again so much for joining me. And you know, before we started recording here, you had a little fun Latin music playing to set the scene, and not many guests come with their own soundtrack either. And so I thank you so much for being here today. I'm looking forward to asking you.
In the loft area above our trimmers. So
yeah, I love it. And you know what? We gotta make it work. Whatever works in this day and age. You know what I mean? We are very much in a renewed makeshift mentality over the past year, just making do with what we got. And so thank you so much again. As I mentioned during your intro here, you are the founder and CEO of Paradiso. And so first and foremost, I just want to ask you about the company. I understand that Paradiso Farms is located in Salinas, California. So tell me about, the inspiration behind starting the company, how and when you decided it was the right time to start the company. And then I also am curious about you personally, because I just want to know how holding a bachelor's in fine arts from the Parsons School of Design and a graduate certificate in scientific illustration from the California State University of Monterey Bay, how do both of those give you a sort of distinct and unique approach to doing business that might differ from others?
Those are all great questions. Okay, so to start it off,
it's what I do.
Me and the other co-founders, we're from this industry. We had farms up in Humboldt. We had delivery service going on in Berkeley in the early 2010s. And Monterey County changed their laws and their ordinances in 2016. And they opened up this greenhouse space it was right before the regulations passed in 2017. And it opened up all this greenhouse space, and they were like, you can grow however much you want. And no county at that point had done that. And we were like, we are intrigued. We must know more.
Tell me more. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Sure. So we came down here, and, as most wonderful things in life happen, it's, through networks and, happen chances. And so we met some wonderful people. We got introductions. We got a little grow going. And we started, pretty naively thinking, oh, yeah, we can definitely grow this, no problem. But the truth of it is that, especially in 2016, even, today, but there wasn't any other models for large scale cannabis cultivation. And there was a huge learning curve. So us and our neighbors who are doing the same thing, it's been years and years of, cycling through ideas and trying things and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, interacting with this environment, to really kind of get a constant, steady, consistent production going. And I would say that my background in art and design applies really well.
Oh, sure.
Because no matter what, if you're doing a painting, if you're designing a light, if you are, creating a cannabis cultivation company, you have an idea, you're going to do some sketching, you're going to trial, you're going to choose your materials, you're going to go through essentially the core design process, no matter what the application is. And so I think trying things, making mistakes, learning how to correct them, and always having this creative mind to it really has helped us tremendously in staying alive and improving.
Sure.
And working through all of the learning curves that have happened, and so
Yeah,
directly
I agree with you.
it helps.
For sure, yeah. I definitely agree with you, because I think that, the cannabis industry in particular, it differs from other industries in a lot of ways, although a lot of big players in other industries are now sort of trying to get into the cannabis industry. But the cannabis industry, I think, differs in many ways, one being that it requires a certain level of creativity and adaptability, because things are changing all the time in when it comes to the cannabis industry and cannabis legislation in this country, and how it would influence how business is conducted in this country. And so I definitely agree with you that I think, your experience in university and fostering that creativity would lend itself to the industry, because you need to stay quick on your toes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Compliance has been, an overwhelming challenge. I think
Oh,
for
sure.
every operator, especially in the state of California, and to really know how to navigate some of the more technical and fine-tuned compliance things, you have to be really creative, and you have to have we have we have 130 people at our farm. And so to really have them, you have to empower them with how to think creatively and how to problem solve, to really help them be successful at their jobs and helping the farm grow, and kind of how to deal with all of these issues, And so it's definitely vital.
Oh, absolutely. Essential. It's been the word of the past over a year now. Definitely essential. Creativity has been deemed essential on this show. That's for sure. I want to shift gears here and ask you a little bit regarding representation in the cannabis industry. There was a recent report released in 2019 from the women-led cannabis staffing company Vankst that revealed that 43% of respondents said that women constituted a majority of their companies. Okay? Now, still, 74% of surveyed companies had 10 or less female employees. Now, this puts the cannabis industry in terms of representation above other industries. Tech, for example, is 20% women employed, agriculture 25, food and beverage 26. But that is still behind most female-dominated industries such as education at 68% and real estate at 50%. And when you look further into the statistics, you find that with most industries, when you look at the proportion of women in leadership roles, only 12.6% of companies surveyed said that they had no women in director or executive level positions. And 41% had just one in a C-level executive position. 14.6 had three or more. So there's a lot of percentages there. But my question for you is, as the founder of a woman-owned and women-led business, what are your thoughts on that? And what do you personally see going right in terms of representation in the industry, and what still needs to be worked on?
Those were a lot of numbers that you threw out.
Yeah, lots of numbers for sure.
Yeah, I think For me, I try to create pathways in our companies that women can move up very quickly. I think that having and seeing other females in manager, director, C-level roles is super important. Just to even think that that's a possibility and have that be a goal of where you're trying to go. And like the woman's psyche is super duper important. There's not a lot of female, operators who have, CEO titles or, C-level titles. And I think a lot of that is there's not a lot of female investors either. So a lot of the money and decision-making that's happening in most of these companies is coming from a male-dominated space. I think the cannabis industry is extremely vocal about this, and they see it as it gets so much press in general. This industry does, but it gets a lot of press in trying to advocate for women and for minority and equity and things, and it's trying to use this industry as it rectifies kind of 100 years of the war on drugs, but 100 years of prohibition into something that we can all be really proud of, and we can all be, it's something approachable. It's something that, you can be a part of. And it's something that, coming out of America, it's something that we can all be proud of. And so I do see a lot of like more women funds coming into the space, and people trying and talking about it. I think that's, really important. But I think people need to like give women a lot of money. Just give them cash.
I'm down.
And put them in charge of things.
Sure.
And then you'll see real change, because having one or two women in a space is fine. But like when you have a bunch of women and it's maybe 50%, and they're the ones who are making decisions, I see at our company so many, it's a healthier environment. We do not work people to the bone here. We have our director of HR is a woman. We are all ears. Like, come vent to us. Like, let's talk about problems. Let's clearly communicate. Let's be really mindful of ourselves as individuals and our work-life balance and our roles that we have outside of our workplace, but also, how do we be professional, and how do we be really efficient and really well organized? And all of these things kind of, they feel more balanced when you have females more balanced in your role, and it's top down. And so, ultimately, if I'm the one making decisions on certain things, it's going to be a kinder decision. I'd be like, please don't if they don't have to work overtime, please don't have to do overtime,
Right.
And it shines through, inherently in our actual company, but through our brands as well. And so our products have this approachability to them. They have a sensitivity to them. They're very thoughtful. They are, mindful of who's going to experience this. Any event that we do is mindful of that. Like, is this overly masculine? Is this inviting for women? It's just, when you have a more diverse group of people who are making decisions, you're going to have a more approachable company and a more approachable brand. And
absolutely. Yeah. So first and foremost, I kind of just wanted to get your thoughts on how you think federal cannabis legalization might affect the cannabis industry. I understand that there's verbiage in the draft of the bill that is meant to sort of keep the cannabis industry from being overrun by the big players in other industries, such as tobacco and food and beverage. What are your thoughts on how nationwide legalization in this country might affect the industry?
That is a giant question. And I think that it's a question that we all, since inception of all of our companies, and especially California regulations, have thought about and have, kind of considered. And I think overall, like, the more cannabis that is accessible to not only Americans but internationally, the better. And trying to have it be affordable, approachable, and high quality is, I think inherently all of our goals. I think how that happens is something that we don't know, and I think it will affect each state very differently. It will also affect the Canadian market very differently too. And so here in California, we grow a lot of product. There's a lot of product being grown here, right? And it has its own issues. And I think to really give California's legalized market the support that it needs to be able to ship to every other state and to distribute not only domestically but internationally. And that will give California the means, and all of our companies, because we are the tastemakers for the entire cannabis community internationally, and we will continue to be that way. And so how we get there, it's going to be a political challenge, but that's essentially what needs to really happen. And so sure. I'm in full support of that. I am in full support of anybody who has been convicted of a nonviolent drug crime, really, but in this instance, cannabis crime, that should be off your record. You should be not in jail anymore. That's insane that people are still having issues with that. And, I think there's a lot of those details that are super duper important and meaningful in somewhat larger ways than it is us being able to ship domestically and internationally. But
sure,
for me, it's those two folds.
Do you think that it's possible to create a cannabis industry that we can be proud of in this country if we do end up having massive corporations and big players from other industries, big tech, big tobacco, big pharma, what have you, if they start dipping their toes in this industry, do you think that it would still be possible to create a distinct industry, something that sets the cannabis industry apart from all other industries?
I'm an optimist, so yes. And they're already part of this industry. So, and I think one of the beautiful things of what you see in California is so many of the operators who, come from the unregulated market are still here. And I think as federal legalization happens, and I hope the state of California is also in full support, but they're going to do whatever they can to help us really survive. And the more that these companies who do have diverse kind of C-level, diverse investors, all this kind of stuff, and with inherently so much, we spent our lives doing this. We have so much knowledge about this plant and about the products and about how consumers are and what they want. And having money help us is how I see the creation of a cannabis market that we can all be really proud of. And so I try not to look at it as us versus them, but it's like, how can we continue to grow and continue to shape this? There's enough division, I think, in the world, and it's not us versus them. It's okay, these are the realities, and those are the companies who have money. And how can you start to diversify that? And how can you start to use that to support kind of the more homegrown stuff?
Yeah. I appreciate that perspective. You are right. We are massively divided as it is now. So yeah, any sort of opportunity to bridge that divide and to work together is certainly needed and certainly valued and certainly essential, which is another theme. And we will certainly, be keeping an eye on all of these developments and all you have going on over at Paradiso. Please continue to be well and stay safe up there. hopefully I would love to drop by for a farm tour at some point.
Anytime. I love farm tours. I am here. Anyone who wants to come, I love them. Please come check
I'm
us.
down. Okay, yes, we will definitely stay in touch because yeah, I love a good farm tour. Absolutely. Right on. So yeah, so we will see each other very soon then, hopefully. Christina DiPaci, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. That was fun. You're wonderful.
Yes.
And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I feel the love and I reciprocate it right back to you. Thank you so much for all that you do. Christina DiPaci, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. That is it for Hash It Out, y'all. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. That is it. I am RJ, your host, as always, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out our channel. Click here to watch another episode of Hash It Out. To find more cannabis industry reporting, insider stories, and to stay up to date on the latest trends, make sure to subscribe and keep up with our Trichomes community app. Download it now for free, and we'll see you there.